기능 이게 지금 유튜브 올라가요. 그럼 카피를 제가
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We appreciate our audience here and then also our online audience for waiting a few extra minutes as we got things together. And so we'll start out. I'm Dr. Whitenold, an educator. Have been in education for the last 20 years. Started out as a teacher, into the principalship, led a large urban high school for about 8.5 years, and then was at the district level another 3.5 or 2.5 years. And so education is near and dear to my heart, and at any given time, in every context of education that I'm in, I'm always asking myself, is this something that I would want my children involved in? Is this something good enough, quality enough, to meet the sort of the expectations that I had as an educator and also as a father? And so it's a little bit about me. I'll let Dr. Ramusi introduce himself.
I'm Dr. Matt Ramusi. I have been a teacher, I've been an assistant principal, and I've been in the central office in 4 different school districts. And I've been privileged to watch people from multiple states in Maryland, Pennsylvania, multiple districts, small districts, large districts, and see how they try to solve many of the problems that we face in education. Ultimately, I thought I think Dwight and I make a pretty good team. And so Dr. Melton and I teamed up the third time, actually, to form a company that specializes in providing access and improving access to high-quality American education for students. It turns out that the students who we are looking at are students for whom access to an American education is next to impossible. We're looking at students who are studying abroad, or maybe they are residents of Korea or Vietnam or China, Nigeria. Maybe they're the children of missionaries. Maybe they're living on a military base. Any number of different circumstances. We're looking to provide access. And at the same time, we're looking to provide financial support to school districts and private schools so that as residents, as parents, as constituents of educational communities, we're able to provide consistency and able to provide sound financial and material resources to schools. So our mission, our general cause for existence, is to offer international students the opportunity to earn a high school diploma entirely online from a high-performing high school in the United States. It seems like a simple idea. And yet, there are some complexities to it. We know that there are many, many students who would like to study in the United States, but hearing the idea entirely online, well, will I get to study in the United States at any point? Yes, absolutely. We strongly encourage, come to the United States. If you would like an American education, come, sit in our classrooms, sit in our schools, become part of an educational community, and study with us. Many students are interested in our 3+1 program, which allows for 3 years of online instruction, followed by 1 year of physical study in the United States. The benefit to doing it this way is that the student can start with one of our partner schools in 9th grade, study online in 10th grade, study online in 11th grade, and come to that exact same school in 12th grade. The diploma that they will earn is from the partner school. Currently, we have a couple of partnerships of which we are extremely proud. International Christian High School in Northeast Philadelphia is an exceptional school that specializes in international students. They are student-centered. Actually, we'll get to that slide in a moment. Academic Opportunities in America is our partner agency who helps to recruit students and place them in schools. And so they are looking at opportunities for students who may not have the finances to come to the United States to study. We targeted International Christian High School with a for a very specific reason. They are very student-centered and student-focused. The folks at International Christian, teachers, administrators, board members, have at the forefront of their experiences student success. They have a strong international focus. About 1/3 of the students who are currently enrolled in International Christian High School are from overseas. They have a dual enrollment opportunity for students to earn up to 15 college credits before they graduate from high school. This is done in conjunction with Cairn University. And upon graduation, all students at International Christian High School receive automatic acceptance to Cairn University. So this makes this high school very unique in that you know going in 9th grade, if I graduate from this high school, I've already received an acceptance to a university. That's a very, very powerful thing. And then we were immediately attracted to the idea of a true partnership with International Christian High School. Question arises, am I taking real classes? I've heard online classes are easy. I've heard, I'll tell you right up front, International Christian High School has not said to us, we're going to let it be easy online. International Christian High School has not said, we're going to let students slide by. What they said to us is, we will partner with you if you agree that the experience students receive online is exactly the same that they would receive in the classroom, save for one difference. It's online. So, will you be able to deliver instruction so that a student online, halfway around the world, is able to see the teacher? We said yes. We have a virtual classroom that allows students to see the teacher who is providing instruction. I said, will you be able to provide instruction so that a student who needs help, a student who's confused, would have access to the teacher? We said, yes. Our teachers have office hours. They have dedicated times that are set aside for students specifically to ask questions. They asked us, will this be a rigorous program? Will this be something, will students learn? We said, yes. It's exactly the same program at International Christian High School. So it's very, very important to us. It's an ideal that we hold near and dear, that students will receive the same type of learning, the same educational experience online that they would have received in person. So then the next obvious question is, what about the diploma? Will the diploma be different? No, it's exactly the same diploma. In fact, this is a picture of the diploma that our first graduate received this past Friday evening. I blacked out the student's name to protect his identity. But this diploma is exactly the same that was received by every other student who has been physically in the school. Nowhere on the diploma does it say online. Nowhere on the diploma does it say the student lived in another country. And nowhere on the diploma does it say this is different in any way. This is a photo of our student. One of the things that he said that struck us as being incredibly powerful was when he wrote, "My way of viewing things now is totally different than in the beginning of the year." We asked him, what did online learning mean for you? Did you think it would be easy? What did you get out of it? And he told us, the way I view things now is completely different than at the beginning of the year. I don't know that there's a stronger recommendation from a student. Thank you for listening to me. I will talk again in a little bit, but this is the document. I won't read all of these, but one of the questions that comes up is the schools that we partner with, have they proven themselves in getting students into American universities? And so International Christian has a long history. They meet the needs of all of their kids, and a high percentage of them go articulate right into a university. If it's not Cairn, you can look at the list of others up there, and these are just in alphabetical order. But that's what comes up. Are students prepared to be accessible in American universities? And International Christian is doing a good job with that. The other question that comes up is English.
you know, every student wants to have perfect English. They want to be able to communicate in the English realm, in the business realm, and that's a goal. And it starts. I spent some time in Vietnam here a couple of weeks ago. It starts when they're about 4 or 5 years old, and every day after school they're getting additional help in English because it equals access. It really does. It's that if my child can speak English, then he or she can have access to the plenty that's in the world. And so one of the things that we had to look at is at what level do we accept students? And there are lots of schools out there that are saying, unless your TOEFL score is here, we don't have the classes to help you. Our background, both Dr. Bermusi and I, has been at an urban high school where we accepted every student who moved into the location, whether they spoke English or a little English or no English at all. And our experience has been that we have seen students come into that environment. And yes, the first year was tough because they're learning academics and they're learning a language. And it's tough. However, in the hands of trained teachers who know how to work with non-native speakers, know how to take content and make it accessible to them so they can not only learn, you know, not just struggle through the words, but also to start engaging with the content, it is very possible for them to be highly successful. And I have pictures of kids in my mind as they walked across the stage, and I would be able to look at them and say, and she knew no English when she came to us. And they graduated from the high school, they went on to a 4-year college, they got their college degrees in America, and it works. And so what we're looking at is making sure that our teachers have that background of working with students who are non-native speakers. We also are very understanding that students will come in at all levels and will be motivated to be learning English, and we will be working with them. So the question around TOEFL and the IELTS exam is that no, it's not a need to be taken. We, again, are interested in picking up students where they are, knowing that experiences with us will better prepare them if they do the 3+1, decide to come the 4th year. Having that level of exposure to English is going to be a benefit to them. The other thing is that depending where they're going to a university, there are universities that may require the TOEFL exams when they get to that level, and that's something that we would work with students as they get to that 4th year. Nuts and bolts. What's the equipment? What do I need? How do I make this work? We're blessed to live in a world that is increasingly connected through technology. Our internet connections are getting better and better and better. In fact, I think there are other countries that are even ahead of us here in America. And so what that allows us to do is get connections and get video feeds that are very high quality. And just like tonight, you know, we're presenting here, and the rest of the world has access to what we're saying just by logging onto their cell phones. And so that kind of connectivity allows a lot of opportunities. And so we tap into that to make it happen. High-speed internet is good, and then of course just the other pieces that come with an up-to-date computer. What will a schedule look like? Some classes are in real time. There's a teacher, there's a group of students around the world, and you're interacting in real time. There's another component of it that is taken, that they're what we call asynchronous. It's work that they could be doing on their own, and students have the flexibility to move that around in their day when it best fits their environment. And if you think of, I like to think of this in that for years I worked within the constraints of I showed up at the office at a set hour, or if I was really busy, I came early, but I still started work when I got to my job. And you worked the job, and then at a certain point you sort of stopped and then you drove home and you were sort of not working except now with technology, we were sort of plugged in all the time. And so this allows that, and then now with the venture that we're doing here with Scholars Promise, I have a much more flexible schedule. And so I can move, I can say, well, I've got to get that done. I can get up early before my children are out of bed, and I can do that and get that out of the way, and I can manage things and still have time to sit down with somebody else to talk for lunch about what we're doing and what's happening. And so that kind of flexibility starts to be very appealing. It's also something that's high school students, if given the opportunity, it allows them to create and actually give them some of the flexibilities as opposed to sort of the seat time babysitting model that happens sometimes. You can't see this, but one of the questions that comes up is like, well, what's my kid's schedule going to look like? Well, really, you're going to be taking, a student will be taking the same amount of classes he or she would be in a brick and mortar school. The difference is that they can move some of the pieces around. And so the live time, the learn live time, they have to be at their computer when the teacher is there. And our teachers work with the time differences, and so we make it locally accessible. So we're not saying, well, oh no, we only teach at 9 in the morning, so if that means 10 o'clock at night for you, that's tough luck. It's the other way around. And the benefit to us is that we're able to tap into a group of teachers that loves that flexibility, that loves being able to get up early in the morning, do an hour or two of teaching, or after their children are quiet and home, they can go and teach a course at night. And so we sort of capitalize on that, and it also allows us to pull in teachers that are who have experience, but who have stepped away from the structures of American education and said, I just can't balance both of the things. I want some flexibility. And so we're able to tap into that flexibility and then pull in the experience. So a student's schedule, the red parts there, and this is just a framework of what it would look like, but the red parts are the learn live times. That's when they have to be at a computer. The other times are flexible. I think we have a slide here that, just sort of puts that out. The second, I want to make sure I pull out the second point, because there are students at 13, 14, and 15 years old who still need a lot of accountability. In other words, they need the structure. And so every lesson electronically is set in with an accountability deadline. And so if a student starts to miss lessons, the teacher knows it immediately. And then that's why we have built in that office time, and it's time for students to ask teachers questions. It's also time for teachers to go and check up on students and say, hey, I've seen you haven't completed the lesson. How can I help? What's happening? So there is a level of accountability there. The other thing is just sort of a byproduct of what we do. Online learning is very powerful. It works. It's used in universities all over the place. It's just that adults love it because of the flexibility, but also because of it cuts out some of the other stuff. You don't have to travel there. You don't have to sit there. You don't have to, if it's not relevant to you, you can read through it quickly. If you're that kind of person, you don't have to sort of go at the pace of someone else. There's a whole bunch of that stuff. And so when we started looking at some of the other byproducts of this, some of the other benefits, and we started listing some of the things that take up time, a student's time during the day, you start looking at travel times between periods. Most schools have about a half hour at the high school that they're just walking. And then you have homeroom, which those of you who are close to schools, you know what homerooms are. It's dreaded. The kids say, well, why do I need to be here? And the school says, you gotta be here. And because kids really quickly understand that it's just time for it just to say you're here. And it's just, it takes up time. And of course you have the mandatory lunch. You're told when you eat lunch, and you're told, if you're, my children spend about an hour, a little over an hour a day sitting on a bus. And we're not traveling out of the district. I mean, we're just in the district, but it takes that long just to get them back and forth. And so when you start cutting out some of those things, you start realizing that what we're doing is you're bringing time back to a student to allow them to be engaged at their talent levels. And we just put this up here, and we call it talent areas, but we're really talking about those things that make individual kids buzz, whether it's music, whether it's the sports, or with my little guys right now, it's Legos and Connects. They like to always building. And it's that time that for a high schooler, it allows them to engage in the field that they're interested in. We're musically going to pick up the extracurricular piece here.
We've been asked, how do I socialize? In school, I get to talk to kids in the hallway, I get to talk to teachers, I get to sit in the cafeteria at lunch, and I get to see that boy I'm interested in, or that girl I'm interested in, or I get to meet with my friends, we get to talk about the game later. Well, we can do the same thing online. Because of our virtual classroom, students can see each other and talk to each other. So class may start at 9 o'clock, maybe it starts at 9:05, and as students log into the classroom, they can see each other, they can talk to each other. The same kind of socialization that you would see at the beginning of the class. But we have extracurricular activities that are built on student interest. League of Legends, huge in terms of popularity for high school students and college-age students. There are now college scholarships being offered to students who play League of Legends and do it well. Well, we can run a League of Legends after-school program. The difference with us is that after school has to be put in quotation marks. Because after school may not actually be after school. It might be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It might be at 9 o'clock in the morning. A chess club. We could easily sit across from one another and play chess, or we could sit 10,000 miles away and play chess. A stock market club. It's done online anyway. That's easy to do. We could have fantasy sports clubs. We could have art clubs, electronic music clubs. I spent 6 years teaching music technology, electronic music. Taking that online would require no one. And yet students from around the world can collaborate and perform together in real time. We can have an actual orchestra, a choir, a concert band, where students record individual tracks and then layer the tracks, produce the recording, and then have a concert. We can have students who perform in real time with one another. There are lots of different options for socialization, lots of different options for after-school programming, for extracurricular programs. There will certainly be no issue with a student finding something. The issue probably will be there will be too many things for them, and they'll have to choose just a couple of them to do. And then the biggest question we have been asked so far, will this help me get into a university in the United States? My goal is to study at UCLA. My goal is to go to Princeton. My goal is to go to Penn State. Will this help me? And our answer is yes. Quite simply, yes. American universities are looking for students who can think, students who are problem solvers, students who are creative, students who are innovative. Well, that's the foundation of the high school program in the United States. We teach students how to become thinkers, how to become scholars, how to demonstrate creativity in real problem-solving formats, authentic engagement of activities, so that by the time they go to the university, they're confident. I can do exactly what's being asked of me at Penn State. I can do exactly what's being asked of me at Princeton, or at Montgomery County Community College, or at UCLA. So the answer is yes. This will help you. How much does it cost? We have price points for folks at all different levels. Just like when you go to buy a car, you walk onto the dealership lot and you say, I have X number of dollars that I can spend. Well, that means that those cars are probably too expensive. But these cars will work very, very well. We're able to offer a 4-year high school program starting at $11,000 per year. That is for International Christian High School. We have price points that are higher along the way, and that is befitting of other programs that are involved. For instance, if you are interested in an international baccalaureate program, access to that program is a little bit more expensive. But the return on that is you're involved in an international baccalaureate program. You may be interested in simply starting off with one course. You may not want to jump into the full diploma program. And if that's the case, no problem. We would love to have you come any way that you see fit. Starting price for an individual course is $3,000. Algebra 1, no problem. Come on in, $3,000. And that does not mean that you have to stop taking the course at your home school. Absolutely continue doing it there. You can give us a try, see if you like the format. Scholarships are available. We do not believe that financial need should ever be an impediment to a strong, high-quality education. Dr. Knowlton and I will do whatever we need to do in order to engage a student. Money will not be an issue. And finally, you'd like to speak with somebody. You have more questions. You want more information. You thought of something after our presentation. Well, there are lots of people to call. Juan Lee, Simon Shin, our directors of development and recruitment. Excellent resources. Dr. Knowlton, our chief academic officer, will be able to tell you anything at all about the program because he's built the entire thing. I'm Matt Ramusi. I'll be able to answer your questions as well. We are extremely grateful to have been able to present to you this evening. We're grateful that you shared your time with us, and we look forward to speaking with you individually and continuing, or beginning, a high school academic program with you. Thank you very much.
At this point, just open it up for questions. Does anyone have questions about what you have heard, things you'd like clarified? We'll take a few minutes.
And about the test and examination, how can you get the examination?
This kind of stuff blew our minds when we started finding out. Test security ends up being a huge issue because if I wanted to give you an exam right now, I could stand and I could just watch and stare to make sure that you weren't cheating. Well, that's really hard to do through a computer, or so we thought. Well, it turns out we're able to purchase a package of software that works with our learning management system that activates the webcam on your computer, and it stares at you. And it will measure your eye movement. So if your eyes are jumping from straight ahead to the right too many times, the computer program...
That means you're cheating, right? Because you got the cheat notes.
That's exactly it. The computer program starts flashing a little sign that suggests you might have notes down here that you're trying to look at. Exactly. So we thought, holy moly, that's fantastic. Well, then it got better. We found for writing, a writing test. We've all done essay tests before. We've all had to write papers. We've all been given a writing prompt. My day at the beach, ... and then you have to fill in the rest. Well, it turns out we have access to a piece of software that again integrates with our learning management system that allows a student to type. And the speed with which they type is measured. The keystrokes, the speed from, let's say you're typing the word beach. How fast do you get from B to E to A to C to H to spell the word? So you write a sample passage. The speed with which you type is measured. The speed with which you hit different letter combinations is measured. And this part was fascinating to me. How hard you strike the keys is measured. So you do the sample writing passage. All of that data gets stored. The student doesn't get to see it, but we do. And then you begin your actual writing test. And if the data that you get from typing doesn't line up with your baseline test, I can't prove that you cheated, but I can strongly suspect it. So there's a lot of security that's built into online testing. The real element to this that we focused on when we were at McCaskey High School, that we focused on when we were teaching, is that students don't cheat when they feel like they know everything. We don't cheat. I mean, stealing is cheating. Well, we don't steal things because we know we don't have to. We can go get the things that we need. We don't cheat when we take courses because we don't have to. We feel comfortable. We study. We prepare. A student cheats when they feel inadequate, when they feel like they need something to give them an edge. Well, our job as teachers and administrators is to make sure you don't ever feel like you have to cheat. If I make you feel comfortable, if I make you feel like you are a master of the things that you have learned already, you don't even need to worry about that. So the assessment process is of utmost importance to us because of security, but also because we want to find out, do you know the things that we think you should know? And if you don't, then we need to go back and make sure that we reteach those things so that you feel comfortable, so that you have learned, so that this experience has been valuable to you. That's a really long answer to your question.
I think also, even in the classrooms now, I mean, the push is to get away from that one assessment, that one test, and the online environment pushes you to say, you know, do we want to be testing in that environment and using all the biometrics to measure and make sure do you want to do that all the time, or do you want to be building into your Learn Live time ways of knowing whether or not you're developing as a learner with the content? And so you know, the project-based learning and so forth is applicable in this environment just like it is in the classroom.
Great question. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah, very.
Yeah, I think there's a very.
Lesson mine is not that difficult in this case.
Right.
So, I didn't know what to say.
No, but we didn't know either. And I think that's one of the exciting things that we're facing, that all of this is new. There's rich possibilities for things that we can do. We think we have some pretty good ideas until we sit down and talk with some other folks, and they give us even better ideas. We had no idea exactly how you could secure the testing environment online. We had no idea how, when we started talking about our virtual classroom, one of the things that I was worried about was, do I have a blackboard that I can write on? I need a blackboard. I used this in my classroom. I need this in order to feel comfortable teaching. Well, it turns out our virtual classroom has a blackboard that we can write on. But not only can we write on it, we can give access to the students to write on it too. So when I used to teach, and I would actually had a whiteboard as opposed to a blackboard, so I would hold out the marker and I'd say, can somebody go out to the board and write down the answer to that question? And a student would take the marker and they would walk out to the board and they would write. We can do the exact same thing. And it surprised us. It seems as though with online learning, all we have to do is ask, can I do this? And the answer is yes, you can. We just have to find the right tools for it. And we've been very fortunate because we've been talking with the folks who know where the right tools are. And then when push comes to shove, it comes down to good teaching. Good teaching online is good teaching in person. It's about making relationships with students. It's about making students feel comfortable. It's about making students feel like they can't do anything until they've learned from you. Getting them so excited that they can't wait to walk into algebra class to find out what's going to happen next. good teaching is the same either in person or online. And that's one of the 55 things that are so exciting to us about this entire process. What other kinds of questions are there? And there's no pressure on you to ask them if you don't want to. It's quite all right. Well, what we're going to do at this point is stop our live broadcast, and we will thank everybody who was watching at home. I know that I would be remiss, and I don't know if they're still watching or not, but if my children are watching, I know that they would be very, very excited if we just made mention of the fact, reiterated what Dr. Weld said earlier. We are trying to build a program that we are proud of. We're trying to build a program that we want our children to be part of. And just this morning, my daughter, who is entering 2nd grade, said, someday I want to be a Scholars Promise student. And that was great to hear, because it meant that she was looking at this and putting herself in the shoes of a high school student. That's what I want a 2nd grader to do. I want my daughter to say, I want to do those things. I want to participate in those activities. I want to learn online. I want to have the flexibility in my schedule that I can go to school in the morning, I can go to gymnastics class or swimming or I can just take a nap in the middle of the day so that I can gain some strength and then go back to school in the evening on my terms. I can control when I learn. And my daughter sees that. And I'm extremely proud. And so I have to say to my daughter, someday I hope you are one of our students. And I know my son is as well. He's just still in preschool, so he's got a little bit further to go. But thank you very much for joining us online. Thank you very much for joining us in person. And we look forward to working with everybody.
I'd like to do one other thing and just have Simon and Juan come up. Part of this is because we mentioned you with your faces on the scene, and so it gives an opportunity for other audience to see you. So Juan and I go back a little ways. I always tell the story that I knew Juan long before I actually could pick him out of the crowd, because he was the guy that I would call to say, hey, I need some help. And he'd say, I'll take care of it. And Simon joined us with Juan, and we're excited to have him as part of our team. So these guys are wonderful resources if you need questions answered.
If I start talking, we'll be here all night.